Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful night. It's been a couple of days, probably like 2 days, and today I come to you with a game. I'm not gonna do like a whole series on this, I don't think, but this is a series that is very near and dear to my heart. This game is called Nights in the Nightmare, and if you've never heard of it before, it is a very interesting game. What's up? Good to see you here, Sierra, and good to see you here, French Vanilla James. Good to see you guys here. This game is fascinating. What's up, Magic? Good to see you guys here. So you can see, when you open this game up, right from the start, we see Teachings, Game Start, Load Game, and Talk Collection. Pretty standard, you know, Game Start to start your new game, Load Game to load your file. But the first thing that's highlighted when you open this game is Teachings. What? I don't want to see the opening again. Also, the art in this game is beautiful. And like the pixel art in this game also just outstanding. But if you take a look at the teachings here, you can see it says the tutorial mission provides vital information on how to play the game, and the other sections can be helpful. If you look at the tutorials and the tutorial missions, yeah, the soundtrack's really pretty. Do you see how much tutorial exists in this game? Do you see all this tutorial that they start you off with? And what's up, Shanaha? Good to see you here too. Oh, I'm ready to like get into the actual meat of the game. I just want to show off that here. Look at they have all this tutorial, and it's highlighted first. They want you to go through all this tutorial and tips before you start playing the game. They have an entire encyclopedia of stuff. I didn't play any of the tutorial when I first played this game, and I feel like I got along pretty well. When I played this game years ago, I never actually beat it because I'm obviously gonna skip it. I'm gonna skip all the story because I really just want to talk about the game, you know? I want to talk about how everything is played. I stopped playing the game because I got to, I think it's chapter 23. There is a very, like, obscure piece of environment that you have to destroy, and it unlocks a secret mission that lets you go to the true ending. I, like, thought about it so hard in the chapters leading up to it, and then completely forgot about it when I got to that chapter. I completely forgot to break it, didn't have a second save file, so I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't need to see the true ending, so I didn't beat the game. So we're just gonna jump right into this. If I show you the tutorial, it is so dreadfully boring. There's so much tutorial to go through, but I feel like I can just verbalize a lot of what this game has to show. So you can see it says Department Heaven, Episode 4. Funnily enough, the Dept Heaven series was a series of games that was made by Sting in the mid-2000s. And they were made with the idea that every Dept Heaven game that came out was supposed to be more innovative than the one that came before it. And you can see how innovative this game was, how, like, unique this game is. Like, just in a few moments you'll see it. So, Episode 1 was called Riviera, the Promised Land, and it, way before, like, Persona came out, way before, like, that series came out, we had an RPG that mixed dating sim elements heavily into it, like, to a major point. That was what made Riviera unique. That and, like, the battle system was kind of different from a typical RPG. And then the second game in the series was Igdra Union, which played very similarly to Fire Emblem, but also had some mechanics. Yeah, it's just different. I would say that, not necessarily innovative, but unique is the word I would use. Igdra Union did a lot of unique things as well. And so this is the fourth game. This is the fourth episode in the series, but the third game that came out in the series. They planned to make like an MMORPG as episode 3, but that game never saw the light of day. And the game that followed this was episode 9, so they really went all fucky with the numbering conventions here. But so you can see, this is how a battle typically starts. You can see we have a silhouette of a character in the middle of the map. That is the character that we get to use. And we have these 4 corners here. You can see that there's a bunch of different weapons, but the character that we have on the field right now is currently an axe user. So you can see, God, I have to like, there's so much to explain with this game that I have to actually bust out the pointer, I think. Do I have the pointer on the scene though? I guess we gotta add it. It's just ridiculous. Let me pull out the handy dandy feather pointer here. So you can see, they have these weapon icons here, and each character has a different weapon style that they can use. And the character that we get first in the game uses axes, so you can see we can use a slasher axe, of which we have a multiple of, because weapons, similarly to Fire Emblem, have limited uses. They have like a kind of durability system. So we're gonna put in these axes here. Actually, we'll sort by type. That'll make it a little bit easier to access everything. So we have our 2 axes, and you can see they also have elements. Because enemies will also be immune to certain or take damage from more elements than others. So we can see we have the slasher here is dark element. We have a dual swords that is a neutral element. Then we have the searing edges, that's fire element, and so on. Pretty standard RPG stuff, you know. Fire beats ice, ice beats fire, they like go back and forth. So we have our weapons here. So a lot of what makes this game confusing is like a lot of the setup. And by different, you mean how much cocaine was snorted when making this. Like, yeah, that's how I feel too. Like, there are so many ridiculous, like, decisions that were made and so many ridiculous, like, things that this game has to offer. But, like, the planning stuff, there's just so many little details that exist that, like, I kind of just ignored. You'll see that we can hit the L button, D button, just see, like, we can see the items, we can see our units here, and we can see the enemies and what they do. So let's just get right into the battle, and you'll see what I mean by what if Touhou was an SRPG.
Ready. Engage!
So you can see this wisp here, this orb is the actual character that I move around with. You'll see that as I wait, there's a timer here. Time only goes down when I do an action, or if I get hit by a bullet. And getting hit by a bullet obviously means that we have less time to do actions. Similar to Touhou, we have Graze. So that gives us more EXP. I love this game, Seer. There's just so much to like discuss on like how ridiculous this game is. So you can see, if I hover over my character and hold the X button, I like charge and attack up. So you can see I can only attack in these 2 directions, forward, left, right. I can't turn my character around. Every character has a set direction that they can focus on, which is really arbitrary. But you know, you're limited to that, so you sort of have to just play around how the game, like where units are positioned. So you'll see when we attack, we get these orbs, which fills up this MP meter. And then this is where the weapons come into play. So you can see in the corner, you pick up a weapon, hover right over them. And you can see now that it has this whole 200% thing, shows weakness. And we just slap this. The music's phenomenal. The whole Dept series has incredible music. And like, the visual effects in this game are perfect. So you can see right now, here it says L, and if I press the R button, it changes it to Chaos. There's 2 modes here. Like, there's so much to explain, but like, when you like play it, it all like flows naturally. So you can see, again, like this guy's red, so he's weak to ice attacks. So you can see I can just hover over this, and we just charge up that attack. But since he's a ghost, we have to wait for the right time. And he's gonna sort of just walk in, right about now. Break out! I love all like the little quotes they have too. And you can see we broke some of the furniture in the map as well, which gave us some items that we'll also have to talk about. So we killed the enemies, and if you take a look now, if you take a look at the bottom of the screen in the next window that we get to, you can see here, we have a slot machine thing going on here, and we have these things getting highlighted. Essentially the way the game works is that every time you kill an enemy, that health bar becomes a kill icon, and we have to get a straight line of kill icons to beat the stage. We don't want to do that until we get all the items on the map though, so I'm going to try to time it so that we don't make a straight line just yet. So we get that, and then that. Oh, god damn it. I fucked it up. So you can see, if I show the mode right now, let me see. It's not going to show it right yet. But when we get into the battle, you'll see that the health bars highlight a horizontal row. Yeah, waiting for the perfect time, because that slot machine sort of determines where on the map you'll actually, or where on, I'll show it, I'll highlight it again, sort of explain in better detail. So let's just start this.
Get ready.
So, can I pause this? I can't pause this. Oh, here we go. Oh, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted at all. So you can see on the bottom here. Wait, Elliot, is this red or blue? What do you mean red or blue? There's, you switch between the red and blue phases during the gameplay, but you can see in the bottom here, there's these kill icons, and that's where the tic-tac-toe comes into play, or the bingo. So you just gotta kill enough enemies that form a line, and that is what happens. Like, when you kill an enemy, you'll see that that health bar just goes away, and you just have to make a full line. You'll see that when I kill both of them, the level will be completed. So, before we do that, you can see that we have this treasure chest here that we also have to break. So we're gonna hit some stuff to get some MP. And it's just... it's ridiculous how much there is to explain when the game feels so, like, very natural to play. Like, there's so many... Oh, I just picked new game. I don't think I had the choice to pick between a route. And since this is the start of the game, I didn't actually do anything just yet. So we just break this open, and you'll see we get this chest. It's very intuitive. For how much there is to explain in the game, a lot of the game plays very, like, simply. Because you go into one of the corners to pull up a weapon, and then you just charge up the attack, and then you just slap an enemy. And then if you don't have enough MP, you just hit stuff. I think this... I don't remember if you could choose your path until later in the game. But yeah, it's just... this first stage is very straightforward, you know, it's a tutorial stage, so they don't throw too many enemies at you. But you guys will see it. I want to at least get to the first boss of the game. Let's just see how much more ridiculous, like, the bullet patterns can get. Like, late game, bullet patterns are just insane. And you have, like, you're usually, like, micromanaging between, like, 3 to 4 units. This is sort of just a simple tutorial stage, and you can see that whole middle row just got highlighted. So that's the clearing a stage. We just get a bingo. You brain your it off for a good years until you post that thing. It's just, it's such a unique game that feels like a fever dream, because it combines so many elements of games that just, you don't think about it. Am I enjoying the game? Welcome, Doxgora. I am enjoying the game. I'm, like, having a really good time remembering, like, what I enjoyed about this game. And, like, I feel like the more I play through this game and, like, explain what I'm doing on the screen, the more I realize that this game was absolutely batshit insane. So you can see here, when we beat a stage, or when we, like, break environmental stuff here, we got weapons, and we got these items here. The durability means that every time, I believe, a turn ends, the durability goes down. Well, these items here are to recruit units. So, I believe later in the game we'll see different characters and how they, like, sort of, if you hover over them, you can see, like, their past. And you'll see, like, maybe a certain item that you got in a previous stage is what, is like a keepsake that'll, like, keeps them tied to the world. Because the story of this game is you're sort of like this floating wisp, the soul of a prince, and you're able to control other spirits to sort of manifest them into the physical world to fight monsters. So, some souls, you know, will be departed forever, some souls you can save by finding, like, a keepsake that tied them to the world. And it's just, there's so many, like, obscure little things that you have to connect to one another. So if we go here, unit list, I actually forgot to recruit that character. But you were supposed to, I believe, use one of the unit items from that stage to recruit him. And I'll show recruitment in the next stage. And then we have this absolutely insane menu here. You can see we have all these weapons here. You can do weapon fusion to fuse weapons together. And that just increases the durability. You can see we can fuse our frozen axes together. Just so that, I think it's to just clear up your inventory so that it's not, like, as loaded. But yeah. If we look at the items here, item list. Yeah, you can see that character that I had earlier, Johan, has a connection to this knitted scarf. So if I use this on him, we would have him as a permanent character in our party, but I forgot to use it on him. So if you're not paying attention to the game, let me say, yes, it is very old. You can tell, like, the pixel art sprites. The original game, I believe, released on the DS in 2007, I think it was. And then I'm playing the PSP version, which released, I want to say 2009 or 2011. So you can see, like, especially when they zoom in on that pixel art, it really shows. So you can see there's these characters here. It was released 2008, yeah. I was, like, very big into the dept series. I started with Riviera back in, like, 2006. Magic, please don't tell me that a game released in 2008 is old as hell. That hurts. Alright. So we're just gonna save our game progress. And I remember PSPs had to save both system data and save data. So we'll actually recruit a character this next turn. Yeah, this is what happens when you forget to recruit a character also. The game makes sure that you don't end up boned with no characters by giving you nameless recruits that aren't as strong as the original characters. Yeah, it does feel like a long time. 2008 simultaneously feels like it was so long ago, and also, I don't like thinking that it was 13 years ago. It's a little uncomfy. So we're gonna skip the story because, again, if you ever, like, are interested in trying this out— thank you for the host, Seer! Oh, and I didn't realize. Toxicura, thank you for the follow. I don't know why I don't hear the alert sounds. It's... what was I saying? It feels like so long and not long at all. And if you ever, like, are interested in playing this, because the game is very unique. The game does a lot of things differently, so I could imagine, like, people, like, being interested in trying this out. It might have to do with the stream key thingy. I thought I reset it, though. I logged in and out of OBS. Now that you remember the game, you can remember some questionable parts. Yeah, there's a lot of, like, weird, like, design choices here. I feel like there was a lot of, the core gameplay loop is very, like, simple and reasonable, but then there's so many, like, stats that they throw into the mix that just doesn't make sense. Like, this whole, like, loyalty thing and the law and chaos kind of thing where they have an inclination towards one side, one color or the other. It's just so much. Isn't it fun if how you miss Encardia, you instantly get locked in the bad ending, but if you get Encardia in blue, you also instantly get— I didn't know that! I forget how you choose a path. I think— hey Reyna, what's up? Nights in the Nightmare, yeah. Does it have to do with, how often you fight in the Law or Chaos phase? I feel like that might be what determines the path. But alright, we have— you can see that we have two characters here. Let's see, it looks like we have a Fire Knight, and we have a Water Hermit. So you can see we have— the Warrior had the same, pattern that we had last time, the cross effect. And then, I think— what's up? Wait, let me check. Yeah, then the horizontal slice. So if we look at our unit here, she has this weird cross. Oh, she's a hermit. It's not a mage. It's she uses daggers like an assassin. So you can see some of the weird patterns here. And yeah, it's so easy to forget, like, everything about this game because what the fuck is this game? So this time, you can see that it's highlighting a key item here, the wedding ring. Moira may have a connection to this, so if we use it on her, we actually get to recruit her and keep her permanently. But we're gonna get the searing edges. You can see she can use those, and Bone, I believe, can use axes. The tutorial was massive and slightly traumatic, which is why I just closed my eyes and pretended it didn't existed. I figured out enough of how to play the game before. Oh, here, and we get the private gun. And now we can see we have a Law and Chaos item, so we can fight in both phases. Because as you can see, let me highlight another thing. As you fight in the Law and Chaos phases, the more you swing, the more this depletes. You'll see it turn white, slowly. It means that you get less MP when you fight in that phase, so you have to balance out your Law and Chaos, which is a very strange mechanic, but it introduces the idea of, like, making sure you have, like, a diverse roster and making sure you're using the right elements and everything. So it's kind of neat. You can also very much tell that this was meant to be on the DS game with how much, like, movement is involved. Playing it on the DS was, like, such a treat. Like, doing bullet hell and dodging stuff using a stylus is very interesting. We also have a time limit here, so if you don't kill enough enemies in time, good luck surviving without a stylus. It's not too bad because you can see here, there's the speed meter. Pressing triangle and circle adjusts how fast you go, so it's not too hard to deal with it. Let's see. The patterns still aren't getting too crazy here. We can graze things for free too. Ah! You can see when I got hit, I lost some time too. But let's do this. The wedding ring goes on to Moira. You can see. It was the first time I saw him. It felt like home. And that's using the wedding ring. So I need to check something. Last time I streamed was when I did that ukulele stream. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I figured someone would have told me if I had reverb on, but I just realized I never checked to see if I had it on. Alright, then we use a favorite mug here. Because the game tells you who uses each key item. And see, it says the knight will join after battle. I know. Drinking isn't good for you. And so we just have to fight now. We start each fight with 3 MP. But we're going to use a Chaos weapon here. You can see what it's highlighting. Oh god. Pressing the L button cancels that, so you save your MP without actually swinging. Sometimes things will just move out of your way. There's nothing you can do about it. You just kind of have to cry. Fill up our MP. Oh yeah, this like weird jamming thing. Sometimes enemies will do like really bad effects if you don't take care of that jamming effect. So you just have to make sure you spin on that. So it's like making the decision between, do I want to stop them from doing stuff, or am I focused on getting a charge? Ow, ow. Let's also break this box here. Oh wait, to break this, you have to make sure you use a charge attack, so we're going to charge this. There's a lot of enemies on the screen. Oh, there's 3 enemies. I like how panicked they sound when you like start running out of time. Like, we're running out of time! Alright. There we go. I think we should be able to get a hit here. Oh, wait.
You shall be in.
There we go. Got a hit. We got 1 kill. So you can see, even with this, just this being the second stage, you can see it's already getting a lot more hectic. Gotta wait for this fairy to like move into place. And we got some hits. I don't think it's dead though. Ah, I think it's tanky. That. Get rid of this. And it feels very satisfying to play, despite the whole lot of what the fuck is happening going on. Like, just like dodging the bullets feels really nice. Alright, so then let's charge up the Chaos Swing. Oh, we ran out of time. You can see once you run out of time, you can see it just shows this percent, or this cancel sign, and we just have to wait till the next turn. So we get to do our slot machine. You can see we got a lot of items as well. These are going to be used. You get a lot of items in this game because there's a lot of characters, just like any strategy RPG. And what's interesting about the characters in this game is that, like, even when you recruit characters, they're not permanent. They have like a sort of like life meter that, as you use them more, they disappear. Like they have like a draining life meter, and if their life meter runs out because you don't like fuse them enough, they just die. They just are removed from your party, or you can fuse them into other party members so they get more time to live. It's like you gotta cannibalize them. And here's a slot machine again. You can see enemies that you've damaged will keep their HP meter. So I can miss that button. And you can see every slot that you stop slows it down a little bit more. Yeah, right? It's interesting, like, how they have this whole, like, slot machine mechanic for the tic-tac-toe in the bottom of the field over here. So you can see the monsters that I rolled on give me this blue bar, this yellow bar, and this red bar. And the goal is to make any line horizontal, vertical, or diagonal. It's basically tic-tac-toe or bingo, but you only get a spot once you kill an enemy. It's very different. Just gotta take a sip of my Mountain Dew brand Rise energy drink. What? So let's sort this out by type. And we can see we have a frozen axe. We're gonna drop one of that, and we need more daggers. Because the daggers we have don't do a lot. Here, we can equip the Beast Fang. So you can see I'm covering different elements, just to do damage in different styles here. So essentially, now that's pretty much the main idea behind the game. Use items to recruit characters, and then just do bullet hell in order to dodge stuff. And you can see, even though it highlights these slots here, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be in these slots. This tree is going to take 6% damage if I were to attack, so we don't want to waste that damage. It's like interesting how like they have the range indicator. Let's see here. This guy takes 100%. This guy takes 25%. Because it's based on the proximity of the square, not just being in the square. But being in the square gives you that maximum damage. So we're gonna use the daggers again. Hopefully this time we fix those guys. Wait, what? Can't hit the fairy?
You shall be
Wait. We're just gonna stop that. We made someone angry. I think now we can hit it. Yeah, now it's being targeted. There we go.
You shall be
slap! That, like, blew it up instantly. Isn't this game getting a remaster but only in Japan? I think so. What was it? Last year, actually, they remade Yggdrasil Union as well on the Switch, but only for Japan. Like, only Japan is allowed to get Dept Heaven games, which is so sad because I love Yggdrasil Union. If it wasn't such a long game to play through, like, I already played through Fire Emblem, but Yggdrasil Union is especially like an incredibly long game. Like, if I were to play through that on stream, I would never finish it. And yeah, the damage is super satisfying. Like the visual and sound design on when you get a good hit, like the dopamine rush is just unmatched.
Feel the wrath of my
Slap
blade.
this guy. So you can see here, when we attack in Chaos phase, there's this Law phase here. If I attack here, I'm not going to get a lot of MP.
Feel the wrath.
You can see just a couple of those crystals pop
Obliterate
out.
the enemy.
So it really depends on what version of the map you're on to do like how much the maximum damage. It's so much info. But it's like crazy because like this game has like incredible, like literally everything. Like, what is this? It's super pretty. It's got incredible music. The tension is so good. Like you can how like as the enemies get more HP, the music speeds up. Oh, you have the art book for it, Reina? Ah, I love the art director for like the series, like for Riviera, Eugene, and Nights in the Nightmare, is phenomenal. I've been inspired. Like their art is just like one of my favorite. We talked about like how I made a lot of forum signatures back in the day. I made so many forum signatures of Dept Heaven characters because I just love the art so much. It's so like I think it's like the way things are shaded. I think is really like what appeals to my brain. All right, slot machine time. Where did I stop that? Blue? All right. Let me get that red on the top. There we go. And then can we get that? There's a yellow. I want to get it. There we go. The detail, right? Alright. So let's see. Yeah, we can see that every turn that we take also decreases the durability of a weapon. So right now you can see durability 3, 4, 4. So I can only use them for that many more turns. So you do want to make sure you're keeping up with the amount of items you have. Like you want to make sure you're killing enemies every turn, because every time you kill an enemy, it drops a weapon. So as long as you're killing more enemies than you are using weapons, you can save a lot on uses. But we're gonna get through this. And like, I don't know, I remember back when I played Project Ember, the Fire Emblem ROM hack, I did like a little spiel on like Dept Heaven. I could talk about this series forever. I could just talk about like how fascinated I was with the series. I could talk about how how different a lot of the games were. Like, Riviera was a whole, like, before, like, Persona and, like, a lot of other games inspired by Persona came out, they really, like, knocked it out of the park with RPG with dating sim elements. And also had really interesting ways of, like, doing, like, level grinding. Because there weren't actual levels, but rather, like, it was like mastering weapons would increase your stats instead of just the typical, you win a fight, you get experience. I thought that was interesting because it really affected like how you grinded. Oh god, you stop that! Oh. So when you miss that, you'll see now, because I missed that that little effect, that little 4. They had this whole thing in the bottom left corner that just took up a lot of the screen. The effects like that get worse and worse the farther you get into the game. The key visual for Marietta. Oh my god, yeah. Marietta was the Marietta, if I'm not mistaken, is the big angel, right? The one who like reappears in at the end of Yggdrasil Union, right? And I think she appears in this game, but like even just looking at like the portrait art, you can tell like how phenomenal it is. Oh, and here you can see the enemies that are flashing in the slot machine now. If you stop on them, that tells you that these are the ones that will clear your stage. There's just so much. Reach, and then whatever. High level. Oh, she's called Maria in this game, yeah. Marietta is Super Saiyan Maria. Okay. Yeah, because I remember, I think Marietta is, isn't she who you fight in Yggdrasil Union once you beat once you start entering Asgard? God, that was such a cool fight too. Melissa is Super Saiyan. Oh, okay. It's been a while since I played the game, so I'm having a hard time remembering. They are connected to the other Dept Heaven games, right? Or were they characters in just Nights in the Nightmare? Because I might be. Oh, I think I'm confusing them with the Valkyrie twins from Yggdrasil Union. I think I do remember who you're talking about, but I think I've been skipping all the cutscenes, so I don't fully remember what Melia and Maria look like.
Engage.
Alright. Now,
It's my
I'm pretty sure if I kill just one of these things,
Attack.
we will end up finishing the chapter. Alright. Let's just hit this guy. Let's just... 75% damage, alright. Oh, that's what it was.
Enemies hurt. This is
Maria was just on that loading screen. Alright. I have a hard time remembering who is from what game, because I know that there are a lot of like overlap between the two, between Dept Heaven games with like certain key characters. And Nights in the Nightmare is actually the only one of the DS games, or the Nintendo games I didn't beat. That's why I'm a little confused. Let's see. Look at how much damage we don't do. Let's take this guy out here.
the enemies hurt. This is
Probably haven't killed anything. Oh, I love the voice acting too. Like the way like it's like a whole like hectic conversation going on like mid battle. Like, when you get hit by bullets, when you start charging attacks. It like really makes you feel like you're fighting alongside a lot of units, you know? Like in other like strategy games, there's not like that kind of level of voice acting where like everything's happening all at once. But here, I think the fact that it's like a bullet hell, I feel like they knew what they were doing there. Like the hectic nature of bullet hell, trying to dodge everything while also activating your attacks, and hearing all the voices as you do everything, it really makes it feel like there's like a pressure, especially with the time limit. Everything about this game is so good, but most people need to play the over hour-long tutorial. Exactly, the tutorial is just... I feel like this game could have been a lot simpler, but they put in so many mechanics that people will just end up ignoring and then screwing themselves over later in the game. So you can see here, I don't even know how the game rates you. I'm just like trying to avoid stuff, but we got a B+, we've been getting S's. And we'll see. Like, tutorial is a whole damn encyclopedia. Can anyone explain to me what this is? What is this? It's like flat line and whoop, whoop, whoop. Like, does this have to do with how many enemies you killed or how many things you cleared out? Almost as brain melting as when I tried to learn Mahjong. Look, I still can't get through Mahjong. I played Yakuza a couple of times. I understand that it's like poker, but also other people are trying to actively screw you over or trick you. So I'm like, it's just so scary. Here I can sort of fake it and make it through the chapters, but Mahjong, like, people will bully me when I'm bad at Mahjong. Alright. Yeah, you can see, because we used the item on them this time, we remembered to recruit them. We actually get the characters instead of just a nameless unit. Hell yeah, I'll do my best. Oh yeah, and then, if you get enough characters, the nameless knights just leave you because, again, they're just supposed to be like a safety. They're supposed to be like a safety net in case you're missing too many units. Yeah, even within Yakuza, like, it kind of teaches you and you kind of can just go, like, as you play. But it's just so convoluted. In, like, a good way, because, it means that there's a lot to learn and there's, like, a lot of depth in it. So I, like, respect people who really, like, truly understand and are good at Mahjong. And yeah, what I also think is interesting about the storytelling in Nights in the Nightmare, I've been skipping a lot of it, but you can see how, as you go through, as the Wisp, you are progressing through this forest and this castle, but you also get to see, the past and how, like I said, you're playing as a bunch of, like, spirits from other nights. Oh my god, that is absolutely beautiful. You're right. The coloring and the shading and just the texture on this is just so, like it's very, like, indicative and, like peak Dept Heaven art. Like, that is, like, a lot of their key visuals just have that wonderful kind of shading. Yeah, so you can see here, you can see the interaction between the characters. So, like, these characters that you were just using, you can see what happened to them in the past that caused them to become these spirits. Wait. So you can see that these two, I believe these two were, like, together, which is why she had the wedding ring and he had, like, that cup. So that was more for him being, like, a drinker and her getting married to him or engaged. So you can see, I think it's just really interesting storytelling that instead of just showing everything in the present, it really, like, shows you, like, the souls of the departed before they died. So you have the whole like overarching story of like the Wisp trying to like progress through this castle, and you also have like the backstory between each of the characters. So now if we take a look at these units here, like we can look here, we have these guys were in the same order. You can see I can sacrifice characters into each other. Like, it is a little ridiculous. I still don't understand what this graph means. I played this game like, what, 11 years ago? I don't understand what this means. I could take a guess. He's a god here. I decide who lives or dies. So you can see, like, the triangle is, like, where the character's at right now, and you can see the LI and the CI just shows about how, like, how influenced characters are by being in Law or Chaos, and the Vitality means, like, how much longer they can sort of last on the planet, last in the world before they have to disappear. Some more oddities. If you lose on 47... Oh! Flowchart, but everything leads to the bad end. Yeah, it's one of those games where, like, instead of just losing, like game overing, you just get a bad end. I think those games that have, like, endings based on losing instead of just giving you a game over are pretty fascinating. Disgaea also did that, though I think it was more used for comedic effect. Like, I remember in Disgaea 2, if you lose to one of the characters in, like, I think he's like the boss of the first chapter. If you lose like the boss of like the final level of the first chapter, you just get a bad ending right off the bat. And I think that kind of stuff is really neat, though I don't think it's neat when you get locked into a bad ending and you can't get out of it. unless you like do a lot of save juggling. Yeah, here we can just give experience points. This is how we make units stronger. That's pretty typical. You can see I can just give experience, and that just makes them do more damage and gives them more vitality. If Algeri dies or is trans-souled, you can go die because... Oh yeah! Yeah, it's just... This game especially had some really ridiculous things to get, like, the true ending. Like, you had to break a certain piece of, environment, you had to make sure certain characters in the party were alive, and you have to make sure that you're using the correct influence on the map. Like, this is actually one of those cases where you need a guide to get the true ending. Otherwise, go fuck yourself. Let's go save the game. I only get 3 save slots too. Well, that's pretty cool. So we'll save, and then nothing here. Oh, yeah, that's another nice thing. You can grind on past maps, which is also neat just for replayability. We're gonna end our setup. Though going back to that leveling menu doesn't actually let you get to the true ending still. I only curse when I'm way into the game. You might be right about that. I don't really think about when I curse. Yeah, that's what it was. 23.5 is that hidden chapter that I'm talking about where you needed to, like, break a certain piece of environment. Like, you see how I've been breaking all those boxes in the map? There's, like, a wooden panel that you need to destroy, and if you don't destroy it, you just miss the side map. And that's the only hidden chapter in the game, I believe. Like, before that, there's no hidden chapters. So it's just... Well, you missed it. Good luck. I hope you have another save backed up. Alright. So, it's really neat, too, how the game will throw a couple of other units while keeping, like, the warrior on your team because, you know, familiarity is nice. There's a random wall you can slap in if you don't. Yeah, exactly. It's so, like, obscure. Like, you think about, like, Riviera the Promised Land. They hid some secret stuff, but it wasn't, like, a true ending. They hid, like, the most powerful weapon in the game behind a very silly Hot Springs event. And then Yggdra Union also, I think, had, like, very obscure secrets, but none of them locked you out of the true ending. Also, that Dryad Sprite, Suffering Before Demon and Dark Souls made it cool. This really is the Dark Souls strategy RPGs and Toho combined. Well, the first thing you should always do when you look at a map is see... Oh god, no. We have a character with a key item to make them join. Get 1, 2 units. And then trade a key item for a weapon. So we have 3 people on the map, so we want to make sure that we balance out having weapons to actually fight, and actually having recruiting the characters that we need to recruit. So Slim Darts goes to Martin. Dryad is like a granny in a luxury shampoo commercial. Yeah. even still, like, the art is just so, like, fantastic, like, the detail on what the Dryad looks like. Especially because, like, I don't know, Riviera had some, like, the art, the way it was done was really good, but the designs were very, like, simple in Riviera. Here the designs are just so much more intricate, I feel. Alright, let's see if there's any private items that we have here. We have the Indigo Ocarina, that's going to be an item that we use. So we have a horse, and horses, lances. And actually, horses are an interesting unit in this game, because so far, you guys have seen that all the units that we use are stationary. They can only aim in two directions. But when we take a look at these lances here for the horsemen, we get something different. Let's see, let me just quick. These are all law. We don't have any chaos halberds yet. That's fine. We'll equip the Darkish here. And then we'll equip the, I believe this guy is a warrior as well. Just to keep us in the realm of familiarity. They gave us one new unit type and then an axeman. You know, just to keep things familiar. We'll have a weapon for long chaos. And we'll get started. But yeah, the first turn is always going to be a bit iffy because, you know, you gotta recruit a character related to me. This could be called a special. It starts. Oh yeah, you can also see what I think is neat is when you press start on the character. I had to doze off when a knight scared me awake, so you can see like things that happened before they died as well. I don't know what happened. I just swam for my life. And then we just give them their item. I think it's just like really like unique because like I couldn't think of another strategy RPG that presents like obtaining units and like talking to people in this way. And like it all fits with the story so well. Item gotten. Let's see. That's all the items. Now we just fight here. You can see we can go in a straight line. We can only aim in. So the knights are actually pretty interesting because they can actually aim in multiple directions. But if we use a regular weapon here, or I think it's used for chaos charge, you can see we can actually, we can finally move. We finally get the opportunity to move. Only knights can do it. And so we are going to use Chaos Axe. We'll try to do a big swing here. Oh, that's going to do 25% damage. That is nothing. We'll also use this opportunity to break the, can't break it. Don't have the right items. Let's go to Chaos and then forward to the units. We have ways to go around this. Alright. So now we can use this Chaos Lance here. Oh god, we're getting hit by everything! And we'll just stab this. So it's like, there's a lot to micromanage here, while also still playing a goddamn Toho game. And then we can push back to Chaos, and we're gonna move our horsey. He's the only one who can move. It worked! Isn't this an acid tripwise? Good to see you. That's alright. Focus on your works here. I'm glad you were able to stop by. To see this fever dream of a game that I had to tell everyone. Alright, so we're gonna try to break this piece of grass as well. So the first part of each map is always just like focusing on breaking all the environment and just recruiting everyone. And once we do that, we can then actually focus on fighting things. Here, let's just stab this guy. And we got a kill. Ooh, that was satisfying. The act of like getting kills in this game is like really just. I feel like other strategy RPGs, you feel really cool when you get like critical hits and stuff. But here it just feels really neat to like just hear those attacks pop off. Those are some bad apples. Thank you for the pun. They might be a little expired. Alright, so we're gonna... I'm not even gonna try. Alright, we got a high-level enemy there. It's interesting to note that, as you've probably noticed at this point, there's no health bar in this game. I believe what a high-leveled enemy does is that when you get hit by them, you just simply take more time damage, because the real disadvantage to this is the more time you lose, the more you get hit. Obviously, the less time you have to actually fight. Am I having to dodge a light object while playing a tactical RPG? That's exactly what it is. It's what if Touhou was a strategy RPG, but also there were a lot of convoluted mechanics thrown in. Because you'd think Touhou but a strategy RPG would just be like Touhoumon, where someone does a Fire Emblem ROM hack with Touhou characters in it. Nope, get the hell out of here. This is, we're gonna put a bullet hell, and you're gonna control like 5 enemies across the map. And what's up, Pig? Good to see you here. It is in fact the Knights of the Nightmare. I am a big fan of Dept Heaven, this whole series. So, I really wanted to get the opportunity to at least play one of these games on stream. I do also want to like go through Yggdrasil Union and Riviera, but I think what I'm gonna do for those is I'm gonna make save files, because there's so much meat to those games that you can't just show off by playing like the first 5 chapters of either game. You really have to like go through and show like where you are at the start, where you're at the mid game, and like how the end game looks, because there's just so much that like builds off of these mechanics. It's an SRPG where no one is allowed to move. Magic, did you just forget we have a horseman now? Horsemen are one of 2 character classes that can actually move. On Nightmares that, if memory serves, you start with 3, I believe, each chapter. You start with 3 MP. But MP builds up so fast that it's not too big of an issue. Oh wait, I still need to actually equip the Guacarina. The amount of times I've missed a character and like realize I missed it after beating a chapter is way too high. The Wisp can move, yeah, a lot. You can see at the top there's that speed meter. So if I hold triangle, you can see I am moving. I don't know how I'm gonna dodge like this. Oh god. 2010's Fatless Jank is a job. Yes, especially because this isn't just Atlas. This is Sting. Atlas just produced all the Dept Heaven games that Sting made. So it really is a whole trip, and I keep on getting hit by everything here. So now we gotta dodge and weave while we're trying to target our own units so they can do charge attacks. And you can tell, like, it really does ramp up. Woo! A lot of damage there. And force the lock. Let's aim downwards. Fly into me. Oh god, I keep on running into the, Oh wait, this is bad. Nightmare mode is as an name. Oh right, the hard mode. You can see that I just broke that terrain here. So, you'll see. Can I fly over this? Oh, we're ghosts. Right, we're ghosts, so that doesn't matter as much. But yeah, we're just gonna try to survive here. We have all the environments broken, so we just need to hit everything. The worst is when you fully charge, you finally see the enemy walk into your range, and then they just fucking move again. Oh god, I keep on getting hit. I am so good at bullet hells when I can't actually move properly. There are no retries. You start with 1 MP, 3 items, and everything is like... I didn't know that that was game mode. That sounds like hell. You have to switch to chaos mode to move forward. There's just... I like... As I planned the stream out, I was thinking about the things I wanted to talk about in regards to this game. I did not realize how nonsensical I would sound, because there's just so much that you have to explain. Because there's like the simple things, like me moving an item onto my unit, charging up and everything. And then there's like law and chaos phases. There's dodging and graze and speed and EXP. This game originally was a DS game, so it's really interesting how they like added that extra bar. Oh god damn it. I don't think I'm gonna kill this. I actually didn't get far in the DS version now that I think about it. I have 0.76 seconds. If you decide that you don't want to do the rest of a map, you actually can just press start and just exchange time for MP or EXP. So like, if you finish your map early, or if you don't think you have the right items to fight the rest of the enemies on the map, you can just get MP for the next map, or the next turn, which is a pretty interesting trade-off. Alright, let's see. So we have 2 of the bottom rows down, so we want to make sure we get that red and then white at the bottom. So I'm going to hit blue first because it slows down the other slots. Every time you press a slot button, you slow down a little bit. So we can get the enemies that we want and get that tic-tac-toe bingo. I am so dumb! I can't use my eyes at all. We have our 2 lances, so we're just going to put on the 2 axes. We got our slasher and our frozen axe. like once you get into the swing of the game, you really do feel the it really does feel like a lot less to think about beyond just, at least once you like recruit all your characters and everything. I see. But yeah, I feel like it translated, like I was surprised as well too when I first played the PSP version. I was surprised at how well this game translated to a control stick. Also, this looks like a goddamn axe, but it's a lance. It's a halberd, which I guess is technically a cross between an axe and a lance. I am so bad at dodging these flower petals. I like want to greed into some grazes, but I just can't graze for the life of me. There we go. Look at those sick grazes. Yeah. Gonna kill? So what was overwhelming was to use to understand the path of things. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of superfluous stuff in the game that once you realize you know what you have to focus on, which is mainly the items and just not getting hit. Those are the main things you need to focus on. 100% damage. Smash. God, the conversation in this game just feels so satisfying to listen to. Do I have the time to do this? Yeah. Get the hell over here. That thing has the audacity to teleport away from me? Get real. Alright, I think this should be fine. We should get a full swing here for 100. Resistance? I don't understand the type circle at all in this game. Regardless, we got the kill. And like, it's so smooth. Honestly, if I can be real, Nightmares... New Game Plus, really? Is it that hard? Well, I believe it, considering all the constraints you said the game has. Yeah, I believe it. Your brain is smooth. It's alright. My brain is also smooth. New Game _. Right. So yeah, once you do the introductory chapter stuff, everything else is just straightforward. And then I think after this I have one more chapter I want to talk about. And that's going to be the boss chapter. The boss fights operate a little differently, and I think they're honestly a lot more straightforward. Neutral and neutral is 75%. I think that's... Yeah, there we go. And the sound design, when you get that breakthrough, the sound effect that it plays is just super satisfying. And I once again would like to gush over the fact that the pixel art in Nights of the Nightmare is absolutely beautiful. Like, the drawn art is also really nice, but the pixel art, like, is so evolved from, like, their previous few games. Like, it's like the isometric view as opposed to the side view. Riviera also was from an isometric viewpoint, but was more, like, smaller and chibi style. They have, like, better proportions in this game, and it really just... It has aged so well. Like, Riviera kind of looks like Jello, which is its own cute style. But, like... I love when, like, you have really small sprites, but they express so much detail. Alright, and you recruit 2 more units. The game just really loves throwing axe units at you. Alright. And we're just gonna skip a lot of the story because, again, the story itself is very intricate. There's a lot of crossing paths here, and as you know me, I really just, even though I play a lot of RPGs on stream, I am not one to sit through a story on stream. I'm not gonna do voices, really. It's just, I want to play the game. That's why I always just do challenge runs. I barely ever do, like, full blind story runs. I just like talking about the game itself, you know? So we're just gonna go and level some stuff up. Wait, leveling. Level a unit, XP distribution. You can tell we... Let's see, every time you level up, it looks like it's 10,000 times the level you're gonna be. That's fine. You can see we get some more vitality. If you take a look, yeah, you can see here, like, some characters have more vitality, like Mikkel has 6.4 vitality. That means you use him like a couple of times and that guy is just gone. He's done so. Which is sad because he's also our highest level. And if we level him up, let's see. He has 6.4 vitality right now. If you level him up, he goes from 6.4 vitality to 7.4. He gets 1 more point of vitality. And we're gonna see how much vitality burns each turn, because He's not long for the world. If you trans-soul him, I think he gets to live a little bit longer. No, he barely gets any vitality from anyone. Mikhail just dies. I think a lot of characters' vitality stats have to do with how they died or what happened to them before their death, because I believe he just drowned. And he kind of just looks like a soft boy too, which I guess contributes to that. Let's see, I think this next map is the Yes, we fight the werewolf here. Ah. So you'll see this is gonna be a much different map than what we've been dealing with. And I believe this is the first map where we actually have to start deploying our own units instead of using the units that are given to us. Well, what do you expect when they hold an axe with those tiny arms? Hey man, Reyna, look, the other, like, Bone has like 30-something vitality. He's spry, he's living large, he's not dying anytime soon. Nice. Yeah, so we're gonna fight a werewolf now. This is the first major boss fight, I think. Yes, you can see here, instead of tic-tac-toe, we have a more conventional boss fight. The boss has a health bar at the bottom, and then he has a rage bar, which is different. So, enemies typically, you could see they had like a time meter on the left, which shows like how they're gonna fight and attack. But then, the boss has a rage meter, which is like a sort of special attack. So he'll like do an attack that's like really hard to dodge. Here we have a letter opener, and then we have some other key items, I believe. Just for an archer. So we can see we have the warrior again because, you know, they just gotta give me those warriors. So we're gonna equip another axe, a horizontal one. Let's see. We need the darkish. Not the darkish, what is that dark axe that we had? Everyone have them? Where are my dark axes? Oh, slasher here. I was about to say. We can equip that, and then the archer. What bows do we have? Bows have an interesting range as well. I also don't see how this icon represents an arrow. It's like, I think it might supposed to be a bullseye being pierced by an arrow, but it's not particularly helpful. So you can see archers can shoot in a straight line slightly away from them as their law attack. Chaos attack is a really big cross, also in front of them. So we have our long chaos weapons, and we are just going to get started. We're going to recruit some characters, get some items,
Engage.
and we need to open those boxes. So you can see we have a limited amount of turns here to do this damage that we need to do. Let's see. This guy gives a very cool sword. This wolf, yeah, look at that. The boss's attacks, because there's only one of them, are going to be a lot huge. This is not really a boss. It's 4 turns of loot gathering and missed attacks and 2 turns of... You're right. I mean, it's the first boss in the game. They gotta introduce boss mechanics to us. The boss fight that I remember the most is the boss fight that's in front of the castle gates. That one I feel like sticks in my mind a lot. You can see... We're gonna jam him, and we are going to hit this guy. Break this environment.
It worked.
And we get a feather. And we've weakened him because we did that whole jamming thing. We're gonna break this again. Oh, I can't reach that. You gotta use the chaos bow then. Oh, that's how that works. So it's across in a set area. Look at that. How is this not broken yet? I'm so confused. There we go. You've gotta break this at some point, right?
It worked.
There we go. We got a 1. And now we have 1 MP, so we need a recharge. Alright, you trying to do something, buddy? You trying to be something? Oh, he just transformed. Alright, well, we gotta use this door again. That looks kind of scary, actually. Try to just, right? Yeah, you don't want to be standing in that moon. That is a lot of slashes. Like, that's such a cool bullet pattern, like, slashing through the moon and then it explodes right after. Remembering this game will unlock a part of your brain filled with random niche things that feel like forever fever dreams. Atomic chest sounds familiar. Also, I straight up just took 8 seconds of damage from that. That is a lot of damage. Alright, just get shot. I need to now figure out, how do I hit this guy? Did I? Oh, I accidentally just killed him. You have an urge to unearth your DS and play this again. I feel that. You know, sometimes you just see something nostalgic and you're like, I want to do that. I want to experience that game. Atomic just where you take a piece. Whenever you take a piece just blows up. Is it just chess, but things explode instead of just regular chess? Well, that's just kind of silly. Like, it's just the same game, but with a funny visual effect. I mean, I guess I can't blame people. That is kind of funny. Alright. Sometimes you just accidentally kill the boss way too fast. But, you know, I'm just built different. You know, I'm just big. Alright. Let's see. We can go through... I feel like what I want to talk about... Like, there's like... I feel like at this point, we see what the game is like. I want to, like, just talk about more dept heaven stuff, because it was, like, such a big series to me, like, a big influence to me. I want to see if I could pull something up here. Give me a second here. See if I can go into... I just want to, like, appreciate... Like, give more appreciation to this series. I've done this before in the past, like... I remember I, like, randomly, like, ended a Fire Emblem stream once talking about, Ygg's Reunion, because I just think the game is so fascinating, the way that the game is, like, built. Like, as a strategy RPG, like, because you think about strategy RPGs, you think about Final Fantasy Tactics, and you think about, like, Disgaea, and you think about Fire Emblem. But, like, when I pull up Ygg's Reunion, let's just pull up gameplay here. Because I'm not going to play it right now. I just want to, like, show, like, the gameplay. I just don't want to hear someone's voice. That's the thing. I don't want to hear... Wait, I can just do Ygg's Reunion long play. Like, you know me playing, like, Fire Emblem every time. Like, all these streams. But I haven't shown off... Alright, is this gonna have dialogue on it? Is this guy gonna talk to me? No, but it has the worst sound quality I've ever seen in my life. Oh, and thank you for reminding me to take a sip. Like, you know, the thing about trying to find gameplay videos like this is, like, you could never tell whether or not someone's gonna narrate over it. And these are all Let's Plays, so I have a feeling they are going to talk over it. How do I find a video for this? Oh, I just showed off what I wanted to show off for the games here. Nothing big. I just wanted to talk about another game now, because I've just been thinking about Dept Heaven a lot recently. See, that's a Let's Play. I don't... Because Let's Plays will have people talking, and I guess I could still show, like, the video without having the sound on, but, like, the game has such beautiful sound as well that I don't want to, like, lose out on hearing that. You know? Because you want to be able to appreciate just all that kind of stuff. Let me see. Let's Play. Come on. Am I just gonna have to, like, get my own copy and play it there? I might do that, actually. Let me just do that real quick. Because it's just another, like, incredible game that horribly overlooked, because, you know, Fire Emblem was out on the GBA, and so was Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. Both these games were very big titles. The Dept Heaven franchise goes 1, 2, 3 spin-offs of 2, 3, 4, 9. There wasn't a 3. 3 never released. 3 was simply just a concept. But it's, like, interesting. You think about... Actually, let me talk about, like... Let me outline this in Photoshop. Let's talk about that. Like, talk about how, like, Dept Heaven as a series is just really, like, strange with its concepts. Do I have to pull out my tablet for this? I'm gonna pull out my tablet. Go to the TV. I just want to talk about this while we're waiting. Because the series just... How do you make a series like this, right? Let me just plug in my tablet, and we're gonna switch scenes, because if you think about, like, any normal game series, like, you know, it's like, you think about the Tales series, it's a linear RPG, like, it's an action RPG that takes place on a horizontal plane, and every time you every every iteration of a Tales game, it builds on that, you know? It went from horizontal to being 3D to being able to move freely, and the progression is reasonable. But then we have, let's go to teaching, and let me take away all these cards. This was the last fortune that we did. If we like take a look here, like it's so strange. Let me zoom in. I think this should be good enough, actually. Where do I have this? Let me actually just the color here. Okay, it's gonna show most of the board. So I want to talk about Dept Heaven because it's one of my favorite series, and I think it's just a very interesting exploration on like what people were trying to do in that time period. So Dept Heaven, for those of you who don't know, Dept is Photoshop not capturing? Capturing. Oh, I see what's happening. Let's see. Let me find where I can actually draw here. So Dept. The head. Ooh, that is not where I want to be. Can move this down a little bit. There we go. It had 4 games in this series ever came out. It was Riviera, the Promised Land. This was the first one. It was episode 1. And it was a dating sim / RPG. And like I said, these were trying to be innovative titles, or like titles that were trying to do new things. But like nowadays, we think about dating sim RPG, we think about the 2006 hit classic Persona 3. So like they were like a little ahead of their time with this one, but then like a lot of games started going with the RPG and also marry your favorite character kind of thing. I am using too big of a brush because, let's see, Photoshop. Let's just stretch this out. There we go. More room. That's pretty straightforward. And then we had Yggdra Union. This was probably the most popular of it. It was like a strategy RPG. I can't spell. I can't spell at all. There we go. Union. And that was episode 2. Makes sense, you know, the first game is Riviera. The first one was episode 1. The second game was episode 2. And it was a tactics game. But, like, the big thing about Yggdra Union is that it had, like, really weird ways to move. Weird mechanics. That's really all I can say before I actually show it on stream. And then Knights in the Nightmare. In the Nightmare, which is what we just played. Is strange because it was episode 4. They originally planned to make an episode 3, and they said it was going to be some kind of MMO, but they announced that like in 2006, and then they never talked about it again. And Dept Heaven as a series just does not exist anymore. They just stopped working on it. So it's tactics again. Tactics. But Toho. And then that takes us to the next game in the series. You know, okay, I can understand maybe they had 2 teams working on the game, so, you know, they made 3 and 4 at the same time. But then Gungnir came out. Episode fucking 9. What? And again, they made it another tactics game. but bad. Gungnir was not a good game. We had this whole thing where they were trying to like do really unique or different things. I could not tell you what Gungnir's... Oh yeah, Yggdrasil had like a bunch of spin-offs, but they all played very similarly to each other, so I don't think it's too important to mention. So they had like Yggdrasil Union, and then they also had Blaze Union, and they had Gloria Union, which wasn't even related. They were like these. It was like a sub-series called the Union series. Then Gungnir came out, and it was like they knocked it out of the park with Yggdrasil Union, and then they made something really special with Knights in the Nightmare. Gungnir felt like it took a bunch of different mechanics. There was like a time mechanic, like a day and nighttime mechanic, and there was like some kind of karma system or something. But like when I played it, none of it really seemed cohesive the way that like Knights in the Nightmare did. I like Knights in the Nightmare, you play and you're like a little confused, but like you could sort of understand where they were going with everything. When you play Gungnir, and I gave this game like maybe 3 hours of gameplay, I did not understand a single thing that happened in those 3 hours. Like, I usually remember like memorable parts of games. The only thing that I remember about Gungnir is that the main character's name was Julio, but it was spelled with a G instead of a J. That's probably the most memorable thing, is that the name was like just spelt really different. But give me a moment, I do want to talk about Yggdrasil Union in depth. Because Yggdrasil Union, it's an interesting, I think is interesting for me to talk about as someone who plays a lot of Fire Emblem, a lot of strategy games. Because we can talk about how standard Fire Emblem feels, and like Final Fantasy Tactics and like Disgaea, all those games. And then we experience a game like Yggdrasil Union, which is just so strangely different. And you can see that even from the start of the game, how different the game is. Where did this go? So this is, if we switch back now, this is Yggdrasil Union, We'll Never Fight Alone. It's probably my second favorite strategy RPG. If you lump all the Fire Emblems together, like after Fire Emblem games, this is probably like one of my top strategy RPGs. And let's also just appreciate the art again. If you thought that I gushed about Fire Emblem's animations, like the sprite animations, I'm gonna go absolutely ape shit when it comes to Yggdrasil Union. And yeah, Gungnir's pro tag was Julio, yeah. Which I think is supposed to be Julio, like G-I. Or maybe Julio? I don't know. But that's what stood out to me the most, the way his name was spelled.
During the rule of Ordine, 31st monarch of Phantazinia,
So we can speed up through this.
Empire invaded.
But we gotta just... Oh, we can skip it, cool. So, this is another strategy RPG. It kind of looks at first glance like it's similar to Fire Emblem, but you'll see very quickly that it's gonna be... It has a lot of differences that I'm gonna point out. Because I think it's really interesting, because games like Fire Emblem and Final Fantasy have very standard, like, your characters have an HP bar, the enemy has an HP bar. You gotta remove their HP bar down to 0. So you can see here, we have a simple mission. Defeat all the enemies. If Millinor dies, you lose, which makes sense. If the main character dies, you lose. But then they have this other condition. If you use up all your cards. And we're gonna talk about the first thing that makes Yggdrasil Union stand out as a very unique game. You can see right now, we have two characters, a generic thief and Millinor. We have no items, but you can see there's a bunch of menus already. But this game is a lot more straightforward than it's a lot more straightforward than Knights in the Nightmare was. Yeah, the FE games usually stay consistent mechanics-wise. They added, like, you know, Fire Emblem 6 to Fire Emblem 7 just added, like, different map objectives. Fire Emblem 7 to 8 added a world map. You know, it's really reasonable things. Here you can see that I have these different cards here. You can see I have a card that says Steel, and it has that move 12. Then we have move 6, move 4, move 5. So we picked our cards. And you're gonna see something...
What can a bunch of petty thieves?
Shush. Shush. I don't need a tutorial. I know how to play this game. I want to explain it to everyone else without reading the tutorial. But yeah, they're talking about how the cards work. You can see it's talking about a weapon type, how much power it has, how much movement the card gives you, and the skill that it has. So you can see here. And also, let's just appreciate that music some more. The only big changes came from the Kaga Emblem games. Actually, yeah. Genealogy to Thracia was such a big change, it almost felt like Whiplash. But so you can see here, each of these cards has different power stats and also a different move stat. So if we take a look at, say, Mind Charge, 1300 power, 6 move. We select that. Shut up. You'll see that we have... The maps in this game are never really that big because you have all these spots here. And you can see, as I move Millinor, the whole move gauge goes down. Shush. Dept haven't really loved throwing tutorials at you to explain the game instead of really, like, building it in, like, seamlessly into the gameplay. They really just have to send you a tutorial corner for every single thing you do. You can see I'm going to put my flunky here. And you can see I moved 6 tiles total with all the characters. And now I can see press square for union. So you can see I select a character and then I can fight a character adjacent to me. You know, very similar to Fire Emblem. You move character next to enemy unit, you hit fight, and you fight. Now the way fights go here, it's not just going to be I attack enemy, enemy attacks back. Watch what happens here. Oh, don't do this to me. Oh, I love this, the way it looks. So yeah, this I'll like run through. So it shows that there's 8 of my characters, 8 of their characters, and we don't manually control them. We see the fight go on in real time.
Alright, here we go.
So you can see, if you're attacking, you do an initial like charge attack, which does like big damage, and then the enemy does a counter attack. But obviously, since you attack first, they lost a lot of units, and they just don't... They won't do as much damage to you as back because, you know, they have 3 units left. Yeah, it really is, like, I think that's just a big thing about Dept Heaven, like the series in general. They had to have these tutorials because, like, some people have, like, very intuitive game sense. Like, I like to think that I could pick up on things pretty quickly, but not everyone is able to pick up on, like, these kind of rules and instructions and, like, look at things happening on the screen and really understand what's going on. So you can see they did a counterattack. And then after this, we just have a fight. And right now, it's just very basic. And you see damage delta is determined by affinity. Yeah, so you can see the icons on the bottom tell me if I have advantage or disadvantage. So you can see, since I have this circle here, that's more of an advantage compared to this guy who has no special advantage. So that means my army is going to fight better, even just naturally. Like, even if I were to get attacked first, I would not be in this big of a disadvantage. Yes. So we can't control tactics directly, but you'll see later in the game we'll be able to have some sort of influence on the fight. And if you press the R button, you can actually speed up through the game. This is actually really important because on the Game Boy Advance version, you could not speed the game up. You had to watch the fight go as slow as it was, which meant if you weren't emulating it, this game took a long time to beat. So you can see here, instead of a standard health bar, you have the morale bar. So even if you beat an army in a fight, it doesn't actually kill them, it just lowers their morale. So some characters will have like a full circle of morale, and when you win the fight, it'll only go down a little bit. And you can see the way we get stronger is to fight as well. Winning a fight gets you more power on your cards. So these cards will get stronger as the game goes on. And it's so much more intricate than a game like Fire Emblem where it's just see guy, hit guy, level up, get stats. It's like everything's built around the cards. Hello, tutorial corner. But yeah, you can see like, I just love how the, like how the fights go. And then, what was the button they wanted me to press? The L button. So we just end turn, and the enemies will advance on us, and we'll see how we deal with on enemy phase. They just didn't move. If I'm not mistaken also, yes. If you thought like Knights of the Nightmare was pretty obscure with things, Yggdrasil Union also has this whole thing where certain tiles on the map have hidden items. And some of those items are pretty important. Well, looky here. You get a hairband. Usually it's just like stat boosting items, but I believe if I recall correctly, there were some really important items to pick up. And we can't attack, so we just end the turn there. You know, it's just... There's so many interesting mechanics to Yggdra Union, and like the series in general, so it's really neat to see like how everything plays out together. You have to dip now? Well, thanks for stopping by, Magic. I'm glad you're able to stop by and talk dept heaven with me for a bit. So you can see again. God. And there's critical hits. Those don't actually, like, you can never tell when those are going to happen. It's not like Fire Emblem where sometimes you have, like, a 30% chance to do a crit. This just kind of happens. And it knocks out the leader immediately. Which means you do a bunch of damage. So you can see here. It's already 8-2. And if you press the R button, the animation just speeds up. Yeah, playing this game on, like, high speed is, like, mandatory if you don't want to just sit waiting around forever and just, like, fall asleep. And we can only do one union per turn, it looks like, from what I remember. So you just fight once. But later in the game, you actually get abilities that let you fight more in a single turn, which is pretty neat. And that is probably like one of the most unique things about the game, is how the whole union mechanic works out. Yeah, I think this is a fight that we're gonna lose. Yeah, so you just see them fighting back and forth, and then you either win or lose. You kind of just gotta sit through it. There we go. And since you can see, we lost, we lose a little bit of morale. But the morale loss is based on, you could see surviving units is here, ability difference, bonuses. So the more enemies you kill, the less damage you take as well. So it's important to make really big wins. Alright, let's move this out of the way. And we're just gonna have Millinor go absolutely apeshit here. I do want to do more on this though, because there's just so much to talk about Yggdra Union that I can't show off just like by going through the first chapter of the game.
Alright, here we go.
So here we actually have we have a very advantageous situation. You can see, similar to Fire Emblem, the weapon triangle does exist, like swords beat axes, beat lances, beat swords. Like that's still a thing in this game. But then they have things like terrain bonuses, they have things like more than just swords, axes, lances, and bows being weapons. So it's really interesting to see like how much more they develop those systems over time. Alright, go and hit me. I think I still win this one, actually. I think it's an even fight.
You better be ready.
I'm not going down.
Like, look at that pixel art. It's like... I like how big it looks compared to like Fire Emblem. Like, there's more motion in the limbs. Fire Emblem is very like compressed and minimalistic feeling. While here you can really feel like the whole like the art style being translated into pixel art. Like the drawings, like the actual like mugshots they have, like the faces, really translated well. Alright. And that's it.
What do you think of that?
It's really interesting to see how they took this genre, because you don't really see a lot of companies like trying to do different things with strategy RPGs. Both Knights in the Nightmare and Yggdra Union really like did things differently. Like you play a game like Dark Deity, you play a game like, I don't know, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, you know what to expect. You play like spin-off games like that, you play Disgaea and all the like Nippon Ichi games, they all play very similarly. But this is just such a different experience. It's really fascinating to see, like Magic said earlier, they were like snorting some amount of cocaine when they were making these games and these engines and these like systems. But I do want to get back to this again. Not right now, maybe not anytime soon, but I think it's just such an interesting series, like Dept Heaven in general. I don't think I could ever dedicate like a full like stream series to playing through this game though, because like you saw earlier, that was just the first chapter, and those fights take a long time to sit through. So I do want to thank you guys all for stopping by today, but that's all we're going to have for this class. What I want to do now is find someone to raid. So let's see who's online. Let's see. Who can we pay a visit to today? let's go and pay a visit to... You know what? I haven't done any spooky games yet. I haven't played any spooky games. Surprisingly, Wisteria has been a bit busy, so we haven't been able to do any streams together. But let's go and raid Zet, who is playing Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, which is a pretty interesting GameCube horror game that I've heard does a lot to mess with you as a player. Like, it makes you pretend like your TV is messing up and everything. And I want to see that in action. I want to see Zet get scared. So, let's go and take a raid to Guardian Zay. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching me go through Nights in the Nightmare as much as I had fun reminiscing about it. But that is all for today. A little bit of a shorter stream, but sometimes that just is the way it is. Thank you for stopping by, everyone, and class is dismissed.